Hello all, this is the first time I've done a weather video in a week. I've been preoccupied with a lot of other things here. Been watching Monster Quest and River Monsters all weekend. Just finished watching the Yankee game. That was a really good game tonight. Very intense. But the Yankees came out on top, so very good, very good. 3 out of 4 from Boston. Let's keep that going. But this is your current satellite picture. So we have two different disturbances that we're watching, and well, they're both in the same general area. This is the main disturbance right now that's causing the severe weather across the Midwest and into western portions of the Ohio Valley here. There's been quite a day with severe weather out there. There's been some tornado sightings, supercell thunderstorms, and basically it's all happening because you have low pressure, which is probably right in there, and it's dragging a really strong cold front back across the Midwest here. It's a really strong cold front. The temperature difference out ahead of it and behind it is just so, I can't even tell you how steep the difference is in temperatures. Like, the warm air mass, I believe temperatures across Oklahoma and Texas today were like in the 70s to 80s, and tonight they're dropping down into the 30s. This ridiculously big temperature gradient, so ahead of the cold front, which is probably right back in here, out ahead of it, that's going to be a really good area of upward motion. So when you have a strong area of upward motion like that out ahead of a cold front, you're going to get the air rising really quickly as the cold air it collides really significantly with the warm air. The warm air rises up, and you're going to get really bad thunderstorms, and with a lot of instability around, and a lot of wind shear. The wind shear at the surface, the winds go in one direction, and then up in the upper levels, they go in a different direction. The difference in the direction of the winds causes the storms to rotate, and you get tornadoes, and that's what we call directional shear. So there was a lot of that around. There was a lot of CAPE, again, convective available potential energy. When you have really high temperatures, you get the air rising off the ground really quick, and again, that helps for large hail. So again, really good severe weather day here, and then you have another piece of moisture back here, and this is associated with a second trough that is back across the Rocky Mountains right now. And so this is the main disturbance. This is the cold fronts. There's pretty much one wave of precipitation with this, then a second wave, and this is actually probably more on the side of wintry precipitation, since it's behind the cold front, and I told you again that this is really cold behind this with temperatures in the 30s. So there's actually going to be some snow, some sleet, some ice across the southern areas here tonight with this other disturbance that's going to be moving through. So you have one short wave over here, and then you have another short wave trough back here. So that's, pretty active day there. And then on the northern side of this area here, there's also some snow because it's cold up there towards Wisconsin and Minnesota. Okay, so that's your satellite picture here. So just looking at the stuff in motion, it's all moving to the east here. Look at all this moisture coming on in. So, yeah, that's your current situation. Now, this is going to continue to move east, and over the next couple of days, there's going to be more severe weather out ahead of the cold front across the Ohio Valley, this region here, and then up along the east coast. On Tuesday, there will also be some severe weather out ahead of this powerful cold front. And then behind it, I think there's a chance for some wintry precipitation in most areas pretty much along the east coast and northeast and mid-Atlantic here and Ohio Valley. There's going to be some snow behind this. Okay, so taking a look at our American model. So again, here is your main disturbance. This is your main shortwave. And then behind it, you have the other trough that's creating the second area of moisture, this piece over here. And this is going to kind of come close to this first piece here as we move through these waves of low pressure, which you can see here. One low pressure up here, one down here. So one associated with this wave, and then one associated with this wave. This is basically your cold front here. This is going to shift to the northeast. The low pressure will shift to the northeast, and the cold front will shift to the east. And then behind the cold front, this trough will also shift to the east. So here we go. This is tonight. moving ahead, you can see your waves are moving to the north and east. So now your area of low pressure that's draping a cold front back to the south is now over Michigan here. And then behind it, what do you have? You have another trough coming in. So if you look at your precipitation map, again, here's your cold front. Out ahead of that, you have precipitation, and then behind it, you have precipitation forming, and that's more on the side of wintry precipitation. Okay, so let's keep going. Alright, and so your wave of low pressure is now all the way up here. Okay, it's all the way up into southern Canada, so associated with this piece. So your main area of precipitation again is all the way up into the Ohio Valley, and then again behind it, associated with this trough, you have another area of precipitation. Let's keep going here. So that wave moves up to the north, and then your trough here forms additional areas of low pressure along the cold front. So that's an indication of strengthening. So you have a line out ahead of this cold front of precipitation, a line of showers and thunderstorms out ahead of it, probably a squall line. And then in back of it you have more precipitation, because anywhere that is east of the trough is an area of upward motion that would be conducive for precipitation to form. And you're also going to have, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a pretty decent low-level jet. Again, winds in the lower portion of the atmosphere can get really strong, and that would aid in moisture coming in from the Gulf, so that's the source of moisture there. So again, heavy precipitation there. So anywhere out ahead of the cold front, where the air masses collide, you're going to get rain and thunderstorms there, and then in back of it, anywhere in between this trough and the cold front associated with the wave of low pressure, that's another area behind the front where you will get more precipitation on the order of snow, sleet, or ice, or rain where it's not cold enough. And as we keep going, your wave is moving out, and then your trough will shift. We are now during the day on Tuesday, and it continues to move on east. So your initial wave is now up here, so that's where that low pressure is. So we're during the day on Tuesday, your cold front is now extending back into here. So now across the northeast, here's your precipitation map from the American model. You have out ahead of the cold front, this is your main area of rain and thunderstorms, and then in back of it, you have more precipitation associated with the trough itself. Okay? And then that moves out. We're now Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and it's out. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. So now this trough behind it, again, eastern, along the eastern part here. Let's just go back a little bit. I just want to show you what I'm talking about. So even though your low pressure is all the way up here and the cold front is back east across the ocean by Wednesday morning, take a look at this. You have precipitation over Long Island, New York City, going back across the lower Hudson Valley, back into New Jersey and Pennsylvania, because you have this trough moving through, and anywhere east of it, and in between the cold front, which is back across the ocean now, and between the trough and the cold front, is an area of upward motion. So you still get precipitation on the back side of the front, which usually doesn't happen, but in this case it's going to. And so I think Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, there's going to be a period of snow across a large area. I don't think it'll be a big accumulation, but what I'm worried about is as this trough gets towards the ocean, its moisture source becomes a little bit more plentiful. And so what I'm worried about is that if there's a snow band on the back end of the cold front, that it might start to increase in intensity as it nears the ocean, because it'll have access to more moisture. So coastal areas I'm a little bit worried about, but we'll have to make sure it gets cold enough. But I think it will definitely be cold enough, even if the snow doesn't stick. I think it'll be cold enough for snow to occur. I really think there's the potential for definitely a coating to an inch or two in most areas, and maybe 1 to 3 in certain areas as well, 1 to 3 inches. On March 31st it happened. Now this low isn't going to be closing off. This band of snow would come just from a trough moving through on the back end. But again, you have to watch for it to intensify as it gets near the ocean. So that's the main story. Now before I talk about the snow again, I want to address rain and severe weather. So let's go back here. Okay, so my forecast here is going to focus on the Northeast. I know there's a lot of stuff going on across the Midwest right now. I don't really have the time or the energy to focus on that, so I'm just going to focus on where I live. So New York City, Long Island, and other portions of the Northeast, that will be the focus of these videos. So to give an overview, I created this map here. Okay, so this is the onset of rain and rain accumulations. Anywhere in the yellow, we're going to go with a good 1 to 2 inch rainfall. And again, as the cold front approaches the water, I think moisture will become more plentiful. So I really think areas that are closer to the coast and, mainly, maybe even into upstate New York and Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, coastal sections of New Jersey, maybe even eastern Pennsylvania will probably get the heaviest rain and thunderstorms. On the order of 1 to 2 inches, and then in the purple you will be up to an inch across West Virginia and portions of Maryland there. And there could be amounts of up to 3 inches. This is really a quick moving system, so I think the period of rain that we get will probably be around 12 to maybe 14 or 16 hours. So it's probable to think that an inch to an inch of 2 or 3 of rain could fall, but so for the first black line here, by Monday night, you will probably be getting rain and thunderstorms. So western New York, central western Pennsylvania, and western Maryland, probably Baltimore on westward, and West Virginia by that time. You will be immersed with rain and possibly some thunderstorms as well. By Tuesday morning, everywhere up to western Maine, Massachusetts and Long Island, New York City, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, and the rest of Maryland, you will all be experiencing some rain and thunderstorms as well. And then by Tuesday night, everybody else is encompassed in the band of rain. I think the further south you go, that's where your best chance of thunderstorms is going to be. Okay, that's where you're going to have the higher temperatures, and you're going to have not strong, but you're going to have very modest instability, and we are going to look at that in a second. So let's talk about the dynamics here that we would need for thunderstorms to form. But before I do that, I just want to show you why we're going to be getting heavy rain. And what we're going to take a look at right now is something called precipitable water. Okay, and what this is a measure of if you were to take a column of air from the ground to surface up into the atmosphere, if you were to take a column of air up to a certain height and you were to squeeze out all the moisture in it, this is how much rain you would get, rain accumulation. So the brightest, the bright green and the light brown, those areas here have the highest moisture content, and this is Tuesday afternoon at around 1 p.m. So this is a measure of how much moisture you're going to have in the atmosphere. So your cold front, which is probably across Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and this area by now, out ahead of it, you have PW values, precipitable water, of up to 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, and that is above normal for this time of year. And that's across New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, upstate New York, lower Hudson Valley, back into Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and towards Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Delaware, these areas here. Again, mainly along the coast. That's where your highest values are going to be, since there's a more of a moisture source. So what these values tell me is that the atmosphere is going to be very moist, and there is going to be a very good chance of heavy rain, whether it be in the form of just rain itself or with thunderstorms. There will be a flood threat. Now, not a big flood threat. I think your main threat here will be from minor urban and poor drainage flooding, a couple of sharp rises on rivers perhaps. I don't really think there's a flash flood threat unless you get a really heavy thunderstorm, but that'll be something to watch. So again, this just shows that, again, mainly across southern areas here, further south you go, the heavier rain and more chance of thunderstorm you're going to get. So heavy rain is definitely the main threat with this system by Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening, and maybe even into the overnight hours on Tuesday.